Hey everyone, Katie Sutton here, intuitive channel and founder of Zen Within Academy and the New Earth Now School with your February 2025 energy update. I've got 4 themes that I'm going to share with you this month. I think a lot of us are cautiously optimistic that February will be a better month, and we are really trying to hold that vision for ourselves and for those around us. So let's jump into talking about the 4 themes that we've got this month. So the first theme is really basically just what we're seeing in the collective. It is this idea of reconciling paradox and duality. We have a lot of things that are drawing our attention in many different directions right now. And as the guides have been saying for many years leading up into 2025, we are going to be and are in the process of dismantling the polarity and the systems that were created in that polarity structure. And so some of you might really be witnessing the heightened state of duality in the collective, in what's happening around you, and even in your own life. And so I'm really talking with a lot of people about the paradox that's present right now and how we have 2 different energies happening at the same time. And this can be happening at a lot of different levels. So the first could be that you could be experiencing 2 wildly different emotions at the same time. You might be experiencing heavy grief and sadness while also experiencing moments of pure joy and elation and excitement, for example. You might be noticing that there are some really terrible things happening in the collective, and you can't look away from the suffering and the struggle and the fear that's getting activated, but you may in your own personal life be experiencing a rebirth or a revolution or a new beginning in your own personal experience, and trying to reconcile, how can I have this experience while the collective is feeling a different way? There are a lot of ways that this duality and paradox energy might be showing up this month. The key to navigating this is to witness and be with it all. That doesn't mean that we try to do that all at once necessarily, but being able to be in presence and be with whatever is triggered or whatever the experience is that you're witnessing, being with the emotion of that, the feelings of that in the moment, giving yourself the permission to give it your full attention in that moment, being with it as long as you need to be, and then opening the door for another more elevating or differing frequency to come in. Look at the density, look at the duality, but don't get so lost in it that you stare at it constantly and you forget that you are a powerful being who can create joy for yourself and have play and wonderful experiences even when there are hard things happening all around you and to you. This is really that idea of experiencing the breadth of our humanity right now, where we have the joys and the sorrows all at the same time. And I think that this can be a little ungrounding. And so one of the ways that you can navigate reconciling these paradoxical energies is to try to do things that create a grounded, centering place for you every day. Maybe for you that your non-negotiables, you have to go for a 20-minute walk every day in order to get connected to nature. Maybe you need to read or journal or create every day. Find a practice or something that you can do every day that helps you to come back to some consistent place of grounded centering, because we are in a time of heightened expression and heightened turmoil, and it's not going to get any quieter, I don't think. We'll have moments, I think, in February where it will be quiet and we will be on a little bit of a pause and we will have time to integrate, but then we're going to go right back into download after download, awareness, truths coming to the surface, so many things happening so quickly. So having those consistent practices, even if it's just one thing a day that you do every day, maybe even at the same time every day, just giving your being a touchstone to come back to stay centered will help you to navigate these very paradoxical, dualistic energies that we're experiencing. Okay, so that's the first theme. That takes me right into the second theme, which is balancing strength and vulnerability. This is something really beautiful that I'm seeing with a lot of my clients. I'm seeing this in my own life right now. I think in times of struggle and in times of challenging energies and challenging emotions, and experiences, it's very easy for some of us to tap into the strength. And sometimes in navigating and using that strength, we forget about our vulnerability. We forget about our authentic expression of our emotions. We forget to slow down and feel and be present with the magnitude and the enormity of what is happening in our collective right now and to us as individuals. And so this month in February, we're going to be asked to really find a balance between being in that strength and that forceful, effort-filled momentum of creating change, which we know that we need to be doing for ourselves and for the collective. And then being in the full vulnerability of overwhelm and just processing all of the enormity of what's happening. And when we can navigate, again, this is that duality, learning to navigate that duality. When we can navigate these two seemingly separate energies of strength and vulnerability, we will begin to find a way to blend them together where we can be vulnerable in our strength and strong in our vulnerability. And that's going to be what we really need so that we can stay present with everything that's happening to ourselves and to the collective this year, and to stay connected to one another and to support one another through this time of transformation. I was watching something the other day that was speaking about how we all are talking about how community is so important when we're watching these systems go through this transformation, and we're feeling the fear of that. But oftentimes we can't get vulnerable enough to actually be supported in community, so that we can't show up in community in the way that we need to for it to actually be effective. So really learning how to be in our strength when we need to be and tap into that, but also be willing to be in our vulnerability, is going to help us to relate to one another, to support one another, and to navigate these changes. This is a marathon, not a sprint, my friends. This is the beginning of the actual dismantling. We have been talking about it for a couple of years. It is now happening. We're witnessing it. It's scary. It might be confusing. It might be exciting for some of you. I know some of you are cheering for it to burn all down. Some of us who maybe know what happens when things get burned down or dismantled know that this is going to be challenging. Let's look at it all with open eyes and witness the beauty and witness the pain and be willing to be with it all, okay? So that's the second theme. The third theme that I want to talk with you about is integration and course correction. And I, for one, am very excited about this particular energetic theme because January was so intense and so fast-paced, and there were so many things that we were having to process all at once. I do see moments throughout February where we're going to get a pause. We're going to get the capacity and the capability to integrate some of what we learned in January. This is a 9-year 2025, 2 plus 2 plus 5, that's 9. We're in a 9-year, we are in an energy of completion. I talked about this in last month's energy update. Coming with that energy of completion are endings, which make space for new beginnings. And in that pause, in that moment where something's ended but we don't know what next step to take, really appreciate that pause, really appreciate that slowing down and that void space, so that you can recenter yourself and integrate everything that you've learned. And then you might find that you want to go in a completely different direction. I do think that some of us in the month of February are going to be course correcting some things in our lives. Some of this might be very subtle, or it could be very drastic for you. You could have made some decisions in the last quarter of 2024, or even in the month of January, or even maybe earlier in 2024, and you're now realizing that decision is no longer in alignment with you. That thing that you were planning, that thing that you were creating, that relationship that you dropped into, something is going to come forward this month, and you're just going to realize, oh, actually, I don't think that's in alignment for me. I think I need to shift the energy. I need to course correct a little bit so that I can keep coming back to this frequency of alignment and authenticity. And I talked last month about how important it's going to be that we stay in this energy of authentic expression. This year, we're pulling out of some old examples and definitions of what success and failure are, and we're really moving into this understanding that when we are living in our values and in our authentic expression, we are in alignment. And when we are in alignment, we can have the things that we desire. So you might find some subtle places or even some really loud places this month where there are some things they're out of alignment that you need to either course correct or fully just let go of and completely let them fall away and change. Okay. I do think that this can show up in your emotional landscape as well, where maybe you've been aligning with a version of a trauma or a wound or a pattern, and you have really allowed that to drive your life, drive your story. You might find this month that version of you that was living in that pain no longer wants to exist, no longer wants to move forward in that pain, that you want to come into a healed expression in some of these old wounds. That will also serve to course correct or realign your vibration with maybe some things that are going to be more beneficial to you. I do think that we're going to continue throughout the year of 2025 to see a lot of things coming to a close, ending, big completions. And with that means that new revelations will come in, and when we get new information, we can make new decisions. So really be open to this energy of innovation and inspiration. Very Aquarian energy. We're in Aquarian energies here at the beginning of February. Very Aquarian energy, this idea of inspiration and innovation and new beginnings. I hope that this particular theme is going to start to set the course for us pulling out of just watching the things fall apart and starting to vision, okay, this is all going to fall apart. What do I really want for my life? How do I want to engage in these systems going forward? What do I want to create for humanity so that we can have a new experience here as a collective? This, I think, is going to inspire some of you to get creating. And I'm really excited about that, because when things are falling apart, if we're not creating something for people to turn towards, we're going to be a little hopeless and a little rudderless and a little lost. So I think that this energy of course correction might also help you all to claim a new vision this month, which I'm very excited about. Okay, that's the third theme. So now let's talk about the fourth theme, which we'll be covering in our healing circle on February 12th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. This particular energetic theme is very important because the high side of our Aquarian age that we're moving into is like being in our personal power in a way where we are in that authentic expression, we are in our unique medicine. And when we are trying to build into that or claim that, we have to really get into our inner authority. These systems are falling apart and breaking down, and a lot of us put our personal power and our safety into whether or not those systems existed. And in that class, I taught people to pull out of that. Now we're starting to actually see that happen. And then we say, okay, how am I going to be in my power if this thing that I thought was creating safety for me is no longer in existence or is changing? We have to claim our inner authority. We have to pull that energy back, drop it down into our energy body, down into our root chakra, into our connection with the earth, and start to channel more of our connection to our higher self and to source, so that we can live in this very decisive place of knowing that we are safe and knowing that we can continue to create even when there is turmoil happening around us. And this might be at the microcosm level. You might be going through some really hard things in your life and thinking, oh my gosh, I just can't do anything. Or you might be tuning into the hard things that are happening in the collective and feeling like you're overwhelmed and you can't be in your inner authority and your personal power. This month, we're going to be really asked to access our inner authority. Anywhere where we've given our power away to someone else, to a system, to a structure, to a relationship, to a job, I think you're going to see some places this month where you start to claim your voice, you start to claim what you want, what you need, and you're going to do it from a really rooted, grounded place, not from a place that is reactionary or aggressive. I do think that this is going to be just a statement of, oh, that just is not working for me anymore, and now I'm going to go do this. And instead of calibrating to what those around you really want you to be doing and trying to people please or make it okay for them that you're wanting to make this change, I think some of you this month are just going to say, nope, that doesn't work for me. I'm going to do this now. And you're just going to orient to that new reality. You're going to claim that inner authority. You're going to be in your inner knowing, and then you're going to create. and you're going to move forward. And I think that's a very exciting energy that we all need to be claiming. Last month, we worked on remembering who we are in the healing circle, which was very much about remembering that we are creator beings. This month, we're going to take that creation energy that we have remembered, that we have access to, and we are going to claim choice. Okay, we are going to claim sovereignty. We are going to claim our ability to make choices that are in alignment with what we want. And maybe this is something that you've been working on for lifetimes. Maybe you've been stuck in a paradigm where you were giving your power away to the same relational pattern or the same job pattern over and over again. I think this is the month where some of you are going to call that energy back and say no more. You're going to allow it to come to a close and a new beginning to open. So I'm very excited about this inner authority. The mechanics of this is that we're going to be working on our connection between our heart and our higher self. And the gateway for that, or the middle ground for that, is our third eye chakra. So in Healing Circle, I'm going to be taking you all through a process to get centered in your decision-making space within your third eye chakra and really clear everybody else's opinions and judgments out of that, so that when you're making a decision and when you're trying to move forward in a direction in your life, you can do that in a very powerful, very clear way that is very compassionate for others, but also very centering for yourself. So that's what this accessing your inner authority energy is all about. So we've got some big themes this month. I think some of us were feeling a little all over the place in January, a little stuck, maybe a little rudderless. I think some of that's going to change in February. We're going to continue to see really scary and challenging things happening in the collective, things coming to light, information coming to light. We've got to stay centered in ourselves as we move through 2025. That is not going to change. So we really need to pay attention to what is lighting us up, what is helping us to stay safe and to feel whole, and to keep choosing that as we move through the month of February. Okay? I want to just say before I get off of here, before I close out, that I do have a class that's coming up that feels really important for me to talk about. And it's going to start later in February. I think the first class is February 24th. It's going to be a 6-part series called Resourced. And so you heard me talk about what I taught in New Earth Now a couple of years ago. That class is still available to you if you'd like to purchase it, where you start to pull out of the fear and the programming of these systems as they're dismantling. Some of you have already pulled out of them and you're like, okay, I know that these are falling away, but what do I do now? How do I move my life forward? How do I align with visioning and creating when things are falling apart around me? How do I feel safe in my body? What happens when the world is falling apart? How do I manifest change for myself when the future of the collective seems so uncertain? These are the questions that we're going to be working with in this 6-part class. As the guides show me this class as an image, they show me that you've been like cords unplugged from the system, but you haven't plugged into your truth yet. You haven't plugged into the energies and your connection to source and higher self yet. You're disengaged and unplugged, but you don't know where your home is right now. And that's creating a lot of fear, a lot of safety issues in the body, and a lot of uncertainty. And so in this 6-part class, we're going to be addressing all of that. I hope you will consider joining us. I will have the information about that class below this particular video, and I will probably have some more information about that in the coming weeks. If that doesn't appeal to you, we've got lots of exciting in-person things coming up in the month of February and in the month of March and April. I've already got some workshops on the books that I will be teaching here in the Charlotte area, and we've got 2 retreats. We've got a couple of spaces left for our trip to Costa Rica and a few spaces left for our trip to Peru as well, that's happening later in the summer. So check out all of that on our webpage. Thank you for tuning in. Comment below and let me know how this video lands for you, what you're feeling as you move into February, and what you're focused on. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.